Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Noemio Vellozzi on behalf of, where are we again? CPB 24-31. This is a minor subdivision for 467, 469 South 15th Street. You'll allow me to share my screen?
Please.
So this is, if you look to the left, this is the property we have. It encompasses roughly 5,049 square feet. It's got a frontage, it looks like 49.67. The back is 5133, and both sides are 100. So we basically want to subdivide this into two lots. The fronts will be 24.83 and 24.84. The back will be 25.67 and 25.66, and it will give you a square footage of 2,025 square foot for lot 32 and a 2,024 square feet for lot 33.
Thank you, Mr. Vellozzi. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Hearing none, are there any questions or comments from the public?
Seeing none at this time, Chair.
In that case, I need a motion.
Motion to approve the
I'm sorry,
subdivision.
Chair. I'm sorry.
There's a question.
There is a question. I'm sorry, Co-Chair Richard. Mildred, if you can accept the promotion to panelists.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good evening, Ms. Nasir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Mildred Nasir, 258 North 10th Street, Newark, New Jersey, 07107.
You have 3 minutes to speak.
Looking at the blueprint, the address doesn't, on my view, it doesn't match with the location of the lot. I received a letter for a location and address that is 531 Bloomfield Avenue, Newark, lot 655.
This is not, Miss, we're not on that application yet.
Oh,
You jumped
okay.
ahead. This is,
I'm sorry.
no worries. This
Okay,
is, this is 467, 469 South 15th Street. We didn't get to Bloomfield Avenue yet. Madam Secretary, anybody else from the public wishing to speak on South 15th Street project?
Seeing none at this time, I just do want to put on the record that Commissioner Purdy has joined us.
Okay. In that case, I need a motion. I think there was a motion. Co-Chair Richard was about to make a motion. Would you please?
Motion to subdivide the lot, please.
Second.
Second by, moved by Co-Chair Richard, second by Commissioner Timmons. Roll call, Madam Secretary. Hey, please mute your devices if you're not speaking. Please put your device on mute. Thank you.
Commissioner Baez,
Yes.
Commissioner Timmons,
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott Roundtree, Commissioner Scott Roundtree, I'm gonna put no vote. Commissioner James,
Yes.
Co-Chair Witcher,
Yes.
Chair Richardson.
Yes. Okay, your subdivision has been approved. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone.
Let's move to CPB 24-27, which is 531 Bloomfield Avenue. Mr. Vellozzi, floor is yours.
Again, Mr. Chairman, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Noemio Vellozzi on behalf of CPB 24-27 for the property located at 551 Bloomfield Avenue. It's a C2 zone. We're proposing to construct a new 5-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial. The back of the ground floor will be one residential unit and residential units above it. The main reason that we're keeping the back as residential is because that sits on North 11th Street, and that area is all residential, so it'll keep with the neighborhood. I'm just looking to see, do I have everyone here? I do have my whole team here, and I'd like to call in Mr. Roma.
Good evening, Mr. Roma. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and affiliation to this
My
applicant.
name is Daniel Angel Roma. I'm the licensed architect for Artec Studio LLC, and I prepare these drawings for tonight.
Mr. Roma, is your license current?
Yes, it is.
You're accepted by the board. Please continue, sir.
Mr. Roma, can you take us through the drawings, please?
Yes, let me share my screen first. Okay, the property is located at 531 Bloomfield Avenue. And also, this is a special lot that has face 2 streets, 536 North 11th Street. What we're proposing is to demolish an existing building located at the property. Let me go to show you the survey. This is a survey prepared by Michael Pronesti. The property in the front on
Mr.
Bloomfield
Roma,
Avenue.
I hate to cut you off, but unfortunately, we don't see anything.
Oh, okay, sorry. You're not seeing this. And you seeing still now? No.
No.
Didn't change. Okay, let me stay with my drawings.
We don't.
Well,
We don't see the drawings either.
We just see you.
okay. Let me just go back, share. Oh, I forgot to do this. Now you see?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. We are located in a C2 district. Let me show the survey. Can you see the survey now? Yes. Okay, this is a survey prepared by Michael Pronesti, shows the existing conditions. We have Bloomfield Avenue a frontage of 30 feet. Then to the left, we have 120 feet. On North 11th Street, we have 45.78 feet. And then going down again to Bloomfield, we have a total of 86.33 feet. What we're proposing is to demolish this existing 3-story building and build a new 5-story building. The new 5-story building is located in a C2 district. Let me go to the floor plans. On the floor plans, we have here first a basement, and the basement will have full stairs, an elevator, and then the basement will be used for storage. We have 9 storage for the 9 apartments that we are proposing, and then we have an area for the electric and gas meter, and also a bio rack area for the tenants. If we go now To the first floor, we are proposing is on the first floor is to the right, we have the entrance to the apartment building, and to the left, we have the store. We don't know yet what is going to be used the store. The store is 615 square feet with a full handicap bathroom, an area for garbage and recycling. If we go back from the main entrance, we can go back and we have the 2 stairs needed for a 5-story building and the elevator. To the back, we have a 2-bedroom apartment. This 2-bedroom is a total of 862 square feet. As soon as you come in, to the right, you have a full bathroom, and then we can see the L-shaped kitchen, washer and dryer, and a living dining area. All this is facing North 11th Street. Here we can see 2 bedrooms. Each bedroom is 11 by 11 with a closet. As this is a multi-family building, we have another bathroom that is a handicap adaptable bathroom. And we have another bedroom 11 by 11. If we go now to the typical floor plan from the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th and 5th, we're going to have 2 apartments in each floor. The apartment facing Bloomfield Avenue is going to be a total of 967 square feet. You can see as soon as you come in, you have an L-shaped kitchen with a dining and living area, and also a balcony facing Bloomfield Avenue. We will have a 1-bedroom, 12 feet, 0.7 by 12 feet with a closet, and from this bedroom inside, you can go into the master bathroom with 2 sinks, a shower, and a toilet. If we go to the left, we're going to have another full bathroom. In this case, will be a handicap bathroom and another bedroom. This bedroom is 12 by 12. If we go back, we're going to have the 2nd apartment. These 2 apartments will have 2 stairs to escape and 1 elevator in the middle. The apartment in the back is also a 2-bedroom. As soon as you come in, you have a full bathroom, a L-shaped kitchen, living and dining, and a bedroom 11 by 10, and the master bedroom is 10/7 by 11 with a handicap bathroom. This is the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor is the same as the 3rd floor and the 4th floor, and we have last the 5th floor, and when we go up to the 5th floor, we have a garden roof floor plan. Both stairs go up to the roof and also the elevator, and we have and we have an area facing Bloomfield Avenue that will be for recreation of the tenants of this building, where they can have an outside seating area with also a pergola to enjoy the rooftop. The elevation, this is the front elevation facing Bloomfield Avenue. We're using 3 different materials. We're using black brick in the front, emphasizing the entrance to the building. And then we have Nichiha architectural panels, color white on the facade. Also, we have a fiber cement vintage wood, this called brown, emphasizing a line, and here inside of the balconies. These are the balconies facing Bloomfield Avenue. And on the bottom, we have the store front. This is the back elevation, also using a brick, black brick on the bottom and part of the second and third floor, and using also Nichiha architectural panels, color white, and Nichiha architectural panel, color snow, gray, light gray, and the Nichiha vintage wood, color brown. Here, one of the properties line is on property. One of the building is on property line in one side. That's why we don't have any windows. And then we have the other side where we have windows that belongs to the bedrooms.
Mr. Roma, just not to cut you off, but the side that doesn't have any windows, that's the southern facade. Is that correct?
That's correct, because the building is on property line on one side, and on property line, you are not allowed to provide any window by code. That's why we don't have any window on that side.
And the rooftop area is only going to be for tenants, correct?
Only for the tenants, that's correct. For the 9 apartments, we'll be able to use the rooftop.
Okay. As to the basement, Mr. Roma, that's going to be available for the tenants at any time of the day. They're all going to have access to their storage units and I guess the bike rack.
That's correct. In the basement area, each apartment will have a space where they can have some storage area. And also there are some bikes that they can use.
And the bikes will be, I guess, whoever first come, first serve, correct?
That's correct. And if there is a need for more, I believe that in the space that we provide, you are going to be able to provide more bicycles.
Mr. Roma, the planner also asked us to provide testimony that the North 11th Street sidewalk, the gate does not swing into the right of way. Is that correct?
That's correct. The swing will go in.
Okay. And as to security, how are these gates? Is it going to be by? You got to be buzzed in. How are they going to? How's the security feature for the building?
This is just that is just an exit. I don't think that I need a big security. The building will be accessed from Bloomfield Avenue. And from Bloomfield Avenue through the lobby, you will go to the elevator or the stairs and going up. And from the same corridor, we have an access to the apartment on the first floor. This corridor can be used for garbage and recycling purpose. The recycling and garbage from the apartment and the recycling and garbage from the small store will be handled and go through. 1 second. From okay. Doesn't go. But here you can see the corridor next to the apartment on the first floor, and we have at the end an entrance door that right now is out, and can also, if we move it inside of the property, the door can open out also.
So there's no way for anybody from the outside to get to that first residential unit except through the main entrance, correct? Everything else is going to be closed off.
Yeah, this will be a closed door. That's correct.
Okay. And lastly, the planner also asked where deliveries would be dropped off. That's got to be in the front since the main entrance will be Bloomfield Avenue. Is that correct?
Yes. We have a lobby. We have the entrance to the building. We have a lobby 8 and 9 by 8 where we will have the mailbox, and for 9 apartments, I think that is big enough to collect the package, and everybody will have access to this, the people from the apartment building.
And all the other conditions of the planning report, we're okay with, correct, Mr. Roma?
Yes, we will not have any problem.
Thank you, Mr. Roma. Mr. Chairman, I have no other questions of Mr. Roma.
I just am here. I want to show a rendering how this house will looks like. This is a 5-story building, and this how will looks like on Bloomfield Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Roma.
Got it. Commissioners, any questions or comments for the architect?
If I may, Chair Richardson,
Pardon me?
if I may, can Mr.
Yes.
Vellozzi, can we mark this as A1, the rendering?
Yes, we'll mark as A1, and I'm going to send you the rendering tomorrow morning.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
I have a
Co-chair
question.
with you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Roma, what kind of plants or such will be upstairs on the rooftop?
On the rooftop, we will have an area where you can have just a sitting area. It's just to enjoy the view and stay on the roof. And some probably you can have some parties with, but it's just an area around 500 square feet that they can probably coordinate who can use it, or sometimes they can use it at the same time.
So it's colored green, but there are no green features up there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's probably some green area. We're going to have some planting around the perimeter of the building, as you can see here in L shape and on the left side. That can be some planting. The planner asked me to provide the species that we're going to use, and we will do that.
Okay, thank you. That's better.
No problem.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments for the architect?
Chair Richardson, Chris Wade has his hand up, the city engineer.
Okay, let's get him sworn in. Mr. Beck.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
My name is Chris Wade. I'm with the Department of Engineering, Principal Engineer.
Thank you.
So Mr. Roma, just out of curiosity, for section 3 within Mr. Trafficante's memo, I just wanted to ask a few questions. From section 3, I guess subsection number 1. I wanted to ask about, there's a frame shed within like the existing conditions and the survey. If you happen to know if that is going to be demoed, if that's going to be demoed or not.
Well,
when you look at the
can you look at the drawings?
Yeah, I see the screen. Yes, that frame shed.
This is the frame shed.
Yes.
Yeah, that probably this was done many years ago. I went to Google and I saw that they use my building as part of a wall. I think that we should let talk with the owner of that property, and okay. he cannot have a shed against my building. When we demolish the building, they will not have any wall. But
Exactly.
This is just a small shed.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to have that as a note. I know that subsection number 2, you had already talked about the building being demolished. So I believe the stairwell at the top is gonna be taken down as well, the stoop?
Yes,
Okay,
everything
And-
is going to be removed.
okay, and then, another comment was section 3, Mr. Trafficante was asking about the overhead electrical. That you will see at the very top in the top corner of the survey. If you go up north. Yeah. You see
Yes,
the- Yes,
those were, I believe, we'll have to rearrange. One, I believe that is the building that is going to be demolished. The other one, I'm not sure, but he cannot have a connection through our property.
Okay.
Probably we'll have to rearrange and have an access from his property.
okay. Thank you.
All right.
And then also, I just had a question, one more question was, I guess just based off of Mr. Trafficante's report, my colleague, just wanted to see if there were any, objections or things that you wanted pointed out, within the memo as to disagreeing with.
No, we don't have anything. What including, I'm going to reduce some of the variances that we are proposing.
Okay.
On one of the variants was a front yard setback. We're going to remove that one. Insufficient ground floor height. 14 feet is required for the first floor, and we're going to comply with that. And the first floor, floor to floor, will be 14 feet. Also, I'm going to add one more tree on north 11. The distance on the front is 45 feet and required to have a minimum of 2 trees. On my drawings, I show only one. I'm going to add one more tree. It will be 2 trees, shade trees. That way we don't have to have a variance for that. And there is excessive illumination, and we are going to work to eliminate this variance to comply with the code requirements.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Commissioners, any other questions or comments for the architect? Hearing none, next witness.
Mr. Chairman,
I have a little question, if I could.
Commissioner Bynes?
Yes, well, actually, architect pretty much answered my question. Vice Chairman Rich asked the question about the rooftop, the green, but I would like to find out about the trees at the outside of the building. Why can just, I believe it is only have one. Now the architects say they have 2. Can we add some more trees in that building, the outside?
On the outside, there is 2 streets. One is Bloomfield Avenue. In Bloomfield Avenue, we already have 1 tree. For 25 feet, you require to have 1 tree. And also in front of the building is the bus station, bus stop bus. And we don't have a space to plant another tree. But yes, we have a space to plant another tree on North 11th Street. That's why I'm going to comply with the code and provide 2 trees on North 11, where there's not any tree right now.
All right, thank you very much.
No problem.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, next witness.
Mr. Chair, if we could call Mr. Khan.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Adnan Khan, ADNAN, KHAN, AWZ Engineering. I'm the project engineer for the job.
And your license is current, sir?
Yes, they are.
You're accepted by the board. You've been in many times.
Thank you.
Please continue.
Mr. Khan, good evening. Did you see the engineering report dated July 2nd?
Yes, I did.
And do you see any issues that we have with the engineering report?
No, just want to clarify, we originally submitted a plan, we received an engineering report, we revised the plans, and 80% of the comments listed in the recent report were already addressed. So there are few comments that are still open, which we will work with the engineering department and will comply with those comments.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan, if you could take us through the site plan and the engineering?
Yes, let's see. Okay.
If I may, Mr. Vellozzi, can we mark these as A2 since he did say that there were some changes to them?
No,
We
these
can.
we can do it, but like these plans were the revised plans that were submitted to the city already. So these plans are already submitted to the city after we received the first round of comments for the completeness.
Okay,
Yeah, so they are the same, exact same plans.
okay.
Love you, Audrey.
Okay. I'm not going to go in detail with the zoning because we have a planner who will testify for the variances. As Mr. Roma already mentioned, that we can eliminate a couple of variances. However, one thing I just want to mention here about the parking. The property is located in C2 Community Commercial District, which doesn't have any parking requirement. So we are not proposing any parking and we are fully conforming with the requirements. The other requirement is bicycle parking. We are proposing bicycle parking in the basement, 5 spaces as required. And as Mr. Roma mentioned, if we need to, we have the space to add more bicycle parking if needed. The existing conditions, I believe Mr. Roma went in detail about the existing building, the encroachments that Mr. Wade has a question. Yes, the encroachment, the sidewalk encroachment will be taken out because we are demolishing all the features on the site. The existing shed will either have to be relocated by the neighbor or had to come out as it shares a common wall with our building. As far as the proposal, I think Mr. Roma touched on it a little bit. We are proposing 1 shade tree on North 11th Street. However, we are going to, as he said, that we are going to provide an additional tree to make 2 trees on North 11th Street. Okay. However, on Bloomfield Avenue, there is 1 existing shade tree that currently exists, which will remain. As Mr. Roma said, there is a bus shelter, which is right in front, so we don't have the room to provide a second tree. So, for in that area, but however, we'll comply with the requirement by adding 1 more shade tree on North 11th Street. Okay, then we just want to touch base with the stormwater. Currently, there is no existing stormwater management present at the site. The site is almost fully impervious. We are proposing a stormwater management, which will meet the city requirements for the detention as well as the discharge rate control. It will be an underground pipe detention system with an outlet control structure, which will slowly discharge the rainwater or into the city sewer. And the idea here is we'll collect all the roof runoff from the proposed building and divert it into the system, underground pipe system, which then will be released to the city sewer. The other question was the lighting, and when we resubmitted the plans to the city, we addressed those lighting comments. And as you can see in this plan, we are complying with the lighting requirements that were listed. We are proposing light, which is about 0.5 foot candle along the northern property line. And those are low light fixtures. They're only 2 feet high. And the idea there is like they will just shine on this pathway that will be used for the garbage removal or any access to the garbage room. So we are providing a low height fixtures. We do have building mounted height fixtures along the building, and they are about 7 foot high. And we have in both on the both frontage of the site on North 11th as well as Bloomfield Avenue, and they meet the requirement as per the city ordinance for regarding the foot candles. So we already addressed those comments. I believe, and as I mentioned, that most of these comments, the comments that are in the engineer's report were previously addressed via this submission. However, there are a few other clarifications and notes that the engineer wants us to add on the plans, which we don't have any issues, and we will comply with those requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, I have no other questions for Mr. Khan.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments for the engineer? Hearing none.
Mr. Chair, if none of the commissioners have, I have one question for
Mr. Barrett. Let's get him sworn in, Mr. Barrett.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Barrett. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
John Barry, consulting planner for the board. Mr. Khan, could you confirm the date on the drawings you were just presenting? I don't believe I have seen those, so just want to make sure what we have on file.
They are dated April 4th, 2024.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Madam Secretary, you.
Yes, Chair Richardson.
You have those?
I'm just trying to confirm dates. I don't have that. I'm confirming with John now. If he has that date, I don't have that date.
No, I don't have that version either. So those would need to be marked as an exhibit and submitted to the staff.
Mr. Chair, if we can mark that as 8-2 and have till the end of the week to submit them to the staff, please.
We usually expect them the next day, but
that's fine if Mr. Khan can get them there.
Yeah, I can email it to everyone right now.
Yeah, as he said, he had already submitted them, so.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. That's it.
Right, so you'll have them tomorrow. Excellent. Commissioners, any other questions or comments for the engineer? Hearing none. Next witness. And Madam Secretary, please put Commissioner Roundtree in the affirmative for the first application.
Will do.
Thank you. Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, if we can call Matt Flynn, please.
Absolutely. Let's get him sworn in, Mr. Beck.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Sure. Matthew Flynn, FLYNN. I'm the project professional planner.
Mr. Flynn, is your license current and active?
It is.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Flynn has testified before this board various times. I would ask that the board accept them.
You're accepted by the board. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt, can you take us through the variances we're requiring?
Sure. So as the board knows by now, we are looking at one tax lot, which is block 655, lot 24. It is undersized per zoning. We have 3,109 square feet. We're required to have 3,500 square feet in the C2 zone. As the board saw, we are on a corner lot with frontage on both Bloomfield Avenue and North 11th Street. As the board knows, Bloomfield Avenue is one of the neighborhood's primary commercial corridors, and we are continuing that trend by providing a storefront along Bloomfield. Notably, the proposed mixed-use building is a permitted use in the C2 zone, so we are not requesting a use variance. We're not requesting a density variance or a height variance. So just to run through the C level relief that we're requesting, again, lot area, which is an existing non-conforming condition. Lot width, we have 30 feet in width. We're required to have 35 feet. Again, it's an existing non-conforming condition. We're not making any changes to any lot lines. Side setback, interestingly, the code requires 0 feet. We have 3.67 feet, so it's an excessive side setback rather than a insufficient side setback. And I think we heard testimony by Mr. Romo regarding the use of that side setback. Building coverage, 86.7% as opposed to 80% allowed. Lot coverage, 98.6%, whereas 85% is what's allowed. And then the two transparency variances for the front facade, 36.5%, whereas we need 40%. And then the non-street facing facade transparency at 10.3%, whereas we're required to have 20%. As Mr. Roma mentioned, we have eliminated the required, the need for a front setback variance, and as well as the ground floor height variance, as well as the shade tree variance, as well as the illumination at the property line variances. So again, the only relief we're seeking is for side setback, building coverage, lot coverage, and transparency. I believe all of that can be justified by the C2 balancing test, whereby the benefits of the application as a whole substantially outweigh any detriments. We look to the purposes of zoning from the municipal land use law. Purpose A, promotion of the general welfare. I believe the project will provide a variety of housing options to meet the needs of a growing population. We know that mixed use promotes walkability and lessens reliance on the automobile, putting people closer to the daily activities that they need. And so that furthers that goal of the zone here. I would say it's an improvement from what is there now. As I testified, we do have frontage along Bloomfield Avenue, which is a commercial corridor, and now we are providing non-residential along Bloomfield, which I think is another benefit. Purpose G of the municipal land use law, variety of uses in appropriate locations. Again, this is a permitted use. It's a mixed use development that I think continues a trend in the neighborhood and especially bolstering Bloomfield Avenue. Purpose I, desirable visual environment. I would say none of the relief relates to an oversized building. Again, no height relief is being requested here. The only side setback is actually an excessive side setback. And so I think that what we're proposing is proportionate to the lot that we're working with, since it is undersized. In terms of the negative criteria, I would say there's no substantial detriment to the public or to the zone. Again, the setback relief is not insufficient. So to the extent that setbacks are intended to provide light, air, and open space, that's not going to be impacted here. The side setback area is usable. We heard from Mr. Roma how that's going to be used for that garbage room there. The front setback variance was eliminated. In terms of building coverage, again, we're looking at an undersized lot. If we did have a conforming 3,500 square foot lot, the permitted building coverage would be 2,800 square feet minimum. We're proposing less than that. We're proposing 2,695 square feet of building footprint. So to the extent that the zoning anticipates certain sized buildings, this is actually smaller than what's anticipated in the zoning code. So to have something much smaller, I think would be inconsistent with what the zone plan wants here. Impervious coverage, using the same train of thought. If we had a conforming sized lot, we would be allowed to have 2,975 square feet. We're proposing just over 3,000 square feet, so less than 90 square feet over the requirement if it were a conforming size lot, which is less than the size of a parking space. So I would say it's de minimis. The amount of impervious coverage, I would say, is necessary to effectuate the development that we have before you this evening. And of course, it is an improvement over the existing condition, which is now 100% impervious. So we are reducing that. In terms of zone conformance, again, we conform with building height, we conform with rear and front setbacks, we conform with density, we conform with 2 out of the 4 facade transparencies, we conform with the orientation of the primary entrance, and we conform with parking. So with all of that, I would say this is an appropriate project that's going to fit in both with what the zone plan wants, as well as with the neighborhood that's out there today. I would say there's also an element of C1, which is the hardship standard, being that we do have an undersized lot. So with that, again, I think this is an appropriate project and approval is warranted. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Mr. Chair, I have no other questions for Mr. Flynn.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments for the planner? Hearing none. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
Yes, we do have one, Chair. Mildred, you have to accept. Okay, maybe we don't. The person is declining, so.
Okay, in that case, I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second the motion. Second the motion.
Moved by Commissioner Baez, second by Commissioner Roundtree. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Commissioner Purdy,
Yes.
Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Timmons,
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott Roundtree.
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Co-Chair Witcher,
Yes.
Chair Richardson.
Yes, your application has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's move to CPB 24-20, which is 538-540 South 16th Street. Are the applicants available?
Yes, we
Again,
have-
please mute your devices if you're not talking. Put your device on mute. Thank you.
We have Attorney Donat joining us.
Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board and municipal staff. Just waiting for the rest of the development team to join the panel and we'll get started.
So only Mr. Manilio had his hand up. Is there anyone in particular?
Mr. Manilio, Mr. Mark Bess,
Okay. Mr. Best joining.
and Matt Flynn as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Looks like we have everyone. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Attorney Roosevelt Delnoff from the law firm of Murphy, Sherlin, Wilkes, here on behalf of Century Capital Partners 1 LLC. Tonight, applicant is before you seeking subdivision approval, as well as preliminary and final site plan approval in connection with the development in the West Ward Model Neighborhood Initiative Redevelopment Zone, specifically to construct four family dwellings on four subdivided lots. With me tonight, I have several professionals to help prosecute this application. We'd like to call our project architect forward to begin our presentation. Mr. Mark Best.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Certainly. My name is Mark Bess. Company is Blackberry Studios, and we are the project architects for this proposed development.
Mr. Best, are your licenses current and in full force in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, they are.
Mr. Chair, we'd like to proffer Mr. Best as a expert in the field of architecture.
He's accepted by the board. He's been here before.
Thank you.
Mr. Best, you are familiar with the plans in connection with this project, correct?
That's correct.
For the benefit of the board, might you please provide an overview of those plans?
Certainly. Thank you. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, your screen is,
Yes?
is showing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time. And I appreciate the fact that we're all here and you're here with me. As was just mentioned earlier, this project consists of a total of 8 units within 2 buildings. So what you're seeing and what I'm going to share with you are the plans and the elevations and the materials for each of those buildings. They are identical and they are located behind each other, which will be testified to by our planner subsequently. What I'd like to do first is to give you a little bit of background, and I'm going to go to the plans and then come back to these images. So again, what you're looking at is one of the buildings, and again, the two buildings are identical to each other. On the left-hand side image over here is one of the buildings. The building is separated down the center with a fire-rated assembly, and on each side, they are essentially mirrored images of each other. So what we see on the left-hand side is the first floor, and you'll have entry stair, again, stair on both sides with a parking garage on each side. The individual will enter into the ground floor unit and have a dining room, kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom, a main bedroom with its own bathroom, closets, storage, and other two means of egress. Each building has an enclosed footprint of about 4,400 square feet. And the first floor unit, because there's a garage, is slightly smaller than the upper floors. The first floor unit is over 1,200 square feet, however, so which is still a nice size for a two-bedroom unit. As you continue up the stair, you'll come to the second, third, and fourth floor units, which again, without the garage, they're much larger. They're 1,440 square feet. So you have a larger living space and dining and kitchen area. But the utility areas, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, etc., in the back are essentially the same. On the upper level, we have a balcony at the front, which you can actually step onto. It's very small, but you can kind of get a little foot out there, and one at the rear as well. Each unit has its own, as I mentioned before, utilities, washer, dryer, access to its own central air conditioning unit, and for the benefit of each of the tenants of the building. On the front elevation, we're showing, or we're proposing, let's zoom in a little bit here. There we go. At the ground level, the first floor level, we're facing the building with brick. There's two garage doors. The top light of the garage door is transparent and is glass at the top light. Again, on each side, the building is identical toward the center, so they're mirror images. There's an entry, stair, door. There's a canopy, the building number on top. And you'll see at each level, in the front elevation, we have a sliding glass door, glass and metal railings at each level. And the building is at the, as I mentioned, at the lower level brick, but around this framed area, it's metal panel with inserts and these frames to kind of accentuate each of the different floor levels and give some depth and character to the front facade. And this projects out slightly from the back of the building, which is faced with fiber cement siding. The windows are casement windows, so they open sideways. And this is what we believe to be a very attractive and appealing front street-facing facade. The roof line is capped. There is actually a pitched or gabled roof in the back, but you don't see it from the street. It appears to be flat from the front. Side elevation. Oh, by the way, on the front elevation, you'll notice that our required transparency is 30%. We're providing 21%. The planner will speak to that. On the side elevation, we have siding. We have our vertical metal panels that you saw on the front elevation. Here you can see the canopy with the building sign and the stair. The brick continues across. This is our egress door from at grade. And on this particular elevation, you can see where from the side the roof is gabled, is pitched. On this elevation, we require 10% in terms of transparency. We provide 9%. The opposite side is very similar to the previous side elevation. Again, 10%, we're providing 9%. And at the rear of the building, we have the additional balcony level at each floor. And again, the brick continues, and you can see the gabled roof at the back with the roof pitching from the front. I'm going to take us to the renderings. So these images depict our intention for the building. We have the vertical metal panels that are within this inset area here, and it's kind of framed with a nice white metal band, and this also accentuates each of the balconies. At the lower level, you see the brick with the garage doors and the stairs leading up. And then around the perimeter is our fiber cement siding with our aluminum cap and fiber cement material at the stair areas. This is a little bit of a close-up of what you can expect. As we zoom in somewhat, you can again see the panels, the metal panels, the fiber cement, the capping, brick at the grade, and the stairs leading up to each entry. So I also want to bring to your attention back on the first level, back here where it says balcony, we actually these are actually going to be window wells. It says balcony, I should say window wells, which will allow for egress out of this lower level. And we are locating the condensing units at the rear of the property, which we can discuss when you get to the civil engineer's report. So that concludes my testimony at this point. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Best. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, any questions or comments for the architect? Hearing none, I have one. So, Mr. Barrett.
Yes, Chairman.
So help me here. This is a major subdivision and site plan approval is what they're seeking tonight?
That's correct. I'm sure you were about to hear testimony from the applicant's engineer, but in effect, they're proposing two buildings that are gonna be split down the middle. So it's 4 lots, with each lot with 4 units, but it'll appear to be 2 buildings. One building facing South 16th and the other facing South 15th.
All right, I mean, I just, at a loss right here. Usually you will hear the subdivision first, and then they talk about the project that's going on. So these lots need to be subdivided, or they already have been subdivided? That's my question.
Right now, there are 3 lots, and effectively, the applicant's proposing to combine them all and then split them into 4 more even pieces. So I think Mr. Manilio, who I believe will be testifying next, hopefully can walk us through the details on that and show you the exact layout.
Correct, Mr. Barron, Mr. Chair.
All right, let's get them sworn in.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Sure. Legal name is Giovanni Manilio, Giovanni. Last name Manilio, Manilio, with Manterra Design, and the site engineers for the project.
And Mr. Manilio, all of your licenses are current and in full force in the state of New Jersey, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Seeing as how we're before the board this evening for subdivision, might you please review our subdivision plan as well as site site plan data in connection with this application, please?
Yes, sure. So I'm going to start with page 2 of the submitted site plan set dated June 30th, 2023, last revised April 23rd, 2024. So on the left side of the screen is the existing conditions or a copy of the survey on our plans. So as Mr. Berry had stated earlier, it is 3 lots, 2 lots that front on South 15th, which is on the bottom of the screen, and 1 lot that's on South 16th Street. There are varying sizes. Lot 19 is 3,100 square feet. Lot 20 is about 2,500 square feet, and lot 69 is about 5,700 square feet. Right now, the lots are vacant. There's no street trees present. There are some sidewalks that are in bad condition, and additionally, there's curbs missing on both frontages as well. As far as proposed for the project, I'm going to refer to a rendering that we put together entitled 538 540 South 16th Street site rendering with today's date. It's just a color rendition of the site plan that was prepared as part of the application. And I'll go through what's being proposed as part of the application.
So, Minil, if you could,
yeah.
Board Attorney and Madam Secretary would like to enter this exhibit as A1.
A1, sure.
And we'll be sure to get you a copy tomorrow. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So what we're proposing to do is combine all the lots and then subdivide it into 4 essentially equal lots. There's 1 lot that's bigger than the other, but essentially the 4 lots, we have 2 on South 15th Street, which would be proposed lot 19.01, which is 2,750 square feet, which is 27.5 by 100 feet deep. Lot 20.01 is 2,856.7 square feet. This lot is really 28.5 by 100. But in the front, it is 30.08 feet because there's this small little triangle that kind of butts out at the frontage as well. And then there's 2 lots on South 16th Street, and these are even lots split down the middle. They're 28.5 by 100 feet with a lot area of 2,850 square feet. As Mr. Best had testified, we are proposing essentially 4 buildings, which will look like 2 buildings from one from South 16th and one from South 15th, which will be split evenly down the middle. Each side of the building will have 4 units in them, and they will be 4 stories. They will consist with a driveway and a 1-car garage. There was comments regarding the driveway. So essentially, because the driveways are so close to each other, it's almost impossible to comply with the city requirements for the flares and the transition from the depressed curb to a full curb. So I believe we are probably going to ask for a variance on the driveway width as well, where 10 feet is required per driveway, which we're going to require 11.5 feet per lot. Building will also consist of a front porch and stairs that lead down to street level. All the sidewalk and curbing along both South 16th and South 15th will be replaced and will be in compliance with ADA requirements. Additionally, in the rear of all the units, we do have a refuse enclosure, which will house all recycling and trash. And we have mechanical units as well located behind the building. All that will be screened with fencing. For the lots that front on South 15th, we do have a modular block retaining wall that will surround the whole property. That wall is roughly between 2 feet to 3.5 feet in height. And additionally, on the South 16th, on lot 69.02 on the north side, is another modular block retaining wall. And again, that would have roughly the same height, between 2 to 3 feet in height. As far as lighting, we were, for the most part, compliant. There was some spillage of lighting on the neighboring properties, both to the north and to the south. We will revise those, the lighting to be in compliance with the spillover at those property lines. We are asking still for relief on light spillage within the internal property lines, the lot line that we are creating, essentially because of where we're placing the lights and the vicinity of the 2 lots and the buildings, where we will have spillover between the 2 lots. Drainage consists of 2 systems, one for the properties that face South 16th and one that faces South 15th. Consists of a 30-inch solid HDPE pipe located kind of in between the side yards of both buildings, and that will detain any increase in runoff from these sites. As far as zoning conformance, we are asking for a few variances. Lot area, 10,000 square feet is required, where we have 4 lots which vary in size between 2,750 square feet to 2,856.7 square feet. Variance for lot width, 100 feet is required, where the lots vary in between 27.5 to 30.08 feet. Minimum rear yard setback of 30 feet is required, where all the lots are proposing a rear yard of 24 feet. Front yard impervious, 55% is permitted, where essentially 100% is being proposed, slightly less. I know there was comments in the planner's report, and we have no issues with doing either pervious pavers or some type of grass pavers to reduce that amount of impervious in the front yard. Additionally, we are asking for a variance for rear yard impervious. 30% is permitted, where the rear yard impervious varies between 49 and 58%. Again, per comments by your board planner, we have no issues with either doing pervious pavers or regular pavers to help reduce some of that overage. The one caveat is that the refuse and mechanicals will have to remain as concrete just for structural purposes. As mentioned earlier, there's relief requested for transparency. And lastly, for parking, 4 spaces per lot is required, or 16 total parking spaces, where 1 parking space is proposed per lot with a total of 4 parking spaces. And our traffic engineer could go in a little more detail regarding the parking requirements. And that concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Manolio. No further questions of this witness, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Chair, Chris Wade has his hand up.
Okay, let's get him in. You're still on oath, sir.
Good evening. Mr. Manilio, based on Mr. Traffic Content, my colleague, his report for section 3, subsection number 4, because you had already addressed commenting on, well, based on your survey for number 3 was addressed in terms of the utility poles, stating that it's going to be removed. But for subsection 4, it was just a question of regarding the underground detention, if there's going to be some type of easement between the buildings.
Yes.
If that's applicable.
Yes, Mr. Wade, we will have a easement between the 2 property owners that share the drainage between the 2 lots.
Okay. Thank you. I believe that is all on my end in terms of.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Board, any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Co-Chair Witcher.
Thank you, Chair. I guess the question actually would be more appropriate for Mr. Best. I'm just recognizing when he was saying that the 2 buildings would be back to back. If there's any distinguishing features, like physically, maybe the color of the brick or the color of the panels between the 2 structures, the one on 15th and the other on 16th, or are they identical?
Mr. Chair, we'd like to recall the project architect, Mr. Best.
Yes.
Yes, Co-Chair. Right now, as we've designed the buildings, they are the material selections are the same. The colors that we're showing in the rendering are certainly up to any discretion. I mean, we haven't settled. We can change colors very easily. We could change the character and nature of the brick or the color of the panel. These are the suggested colors that we put up for now. And I would imagine that your question is more about the rear elevation, since those are the 2 that are facing each other. Is that correct?
Well, no, my concern was just if you had guessed or someone was trying to find you, that they wouldn't be confused. You know, my house has the red brick and the other one has
Oh,
a brown brick. I don't.
I understand. You're talking about in the front elevation. Okay. I misunderstood you. I stand corrected. So right now we're showing it as we have our concept initially, as was discussed at the beginning, is to make it look like one building. So, you know, not as though there were two separate structures that were put side by side. So we could do something maybe with the door color, something along those lines to distinguish one side from the other, or even perhaps if you could see, if I can share my screen with you for a moment, go back to the screen to zoom in a little bit so we can get a better look at it.
Yeah, so Mr. Best, I understand for the building, right? The building frontage to be contiguous. I get that vision. But I'm saying if I were on 15th, thinking that I was on 16th, other than looking at the house numbers, how would I distinguish the two? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. So
Mr. Best, will the material on the structure on 15th differ from the material on 16th?
Again, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about the two sides. That's certainly doable, Madam Co-Chair. I don't personally have any issue with that whatsoever, and perhaps it's not a bad suggestion, because you know one might be confused if they're just looking at the building number and aren't paying a lot of attention to what street they're on. So you could tell your friend, I'm the one with the green panel. It's not, you know, and you'll know which one it is. So for purposes of our testimony, I personally, and I believe I speak for the team, have absolutely no issue with presenting an elevation for the opposite side, the 540, to have maybe a different color profile.
Thank you, sir.
So I have a question. You could leave that rendering up.
Oh, okay.
As you have the car in front depicted, that it would not impede anyone walking on the sidewalk. Is that an accurate depiction?
There will be no parking in the front. It's not that's a compressed image right there. There would not be any parking in the front. There's no room to actually put a regular sized car there.
Yeah, but we know they do all the time, and they block the sidewalk. Happens all the time. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Chair.
Commissioner James.
Yeah, I had a question. I believe the engineer, during his testimony, you mentioned that you were requesting, I think, a variance or two for the driveway. Is that in addition to the 10 existing variances, or that was?
Yeah, that is correct. The board planner had mentioned that even though we have 10-foot driveways, we do, I'm not showing my screen. Hold on. Let me show my screen. Yeah, so even though we have two driveways, they're connected as one at the street level. And typically what the engineering department requires is a 3-foot flare for each driveway. And we only have 3 feet between them, so we can't provide the 6 feet to make up for that, to make them two distinct driveways. The other option was either to add pavers to distinguish them or stripe it. But I thought it was easier just to keep it as one, you know, larger driveway cut and ask for the relief on both properties. So yeah, that's in addition to the variances that were requested.
I got you. So they're going to still be distinctive, like two separate driveways. But you're saying because of the width.
Correct, because of the vicinity of how close they are to each other, we can't ideally make them two at the street level.
Got it. Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
What about trees?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So I didn't mention that. So we are proposing one street tree per property, which is in compliance with the regulations. And we are proposing landscape tree in the rear yard, which are shown here as well. So total of 8 trees are being proposed for the project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Board, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, next witness.
Mr. Chair, we'd like to invite our traffic engineer forward.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be truthful?
1 second, Dan, he's coming on now.
Okay.
You're muted, John.
All right, good evening.
Good evening, John. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Sure, it's John Korak, last name spelled C-O-R-A-K, with Stonefield Engineering and Design at 92 Park Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Korak, your licenses are in full force and effect in the state of New Jersey, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Have you testified in front of this board previously?
Numerous times, yes.
All right, you're accepted by the board. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Korak, you're familiar with the plans that have been presented in connection with this application, correct?
Correct.
And you did prepare the traffic assessment in connection with this application, correct?
Correct.
For the benefit of the board, might you please provide a very brief overview of that traffic assessment and address the comments provided by the municipality?
Of course. So within the traffic and parking assessment, we essentially looked at two different components, one being how much traffic is generated by the project during the peak periods. And then the second component is the parking supply provided on the site, as well as the parking availability on the surrounding street network to accommodate the deficiency in the parking variance. So I'll start off first with traffic generation of the property. The 4 lots in total is how we looked at this, as if it was one development. And so the total trip generation or traffic over the course of an entire peak hour, whether that's the morning, the evening, generally speaking, ranges about 6 to 8 total trips across an hour. So about a trip every 7 to 10 minutes, either leaving the vicinity of the site or arriving to the vicinity of the site. And when you're looking at one new car every 7 to 10 minutes, it's not something that generates any sort of significant adverse impact to the roadway network. The other piece, of course, is the parking for the project and for the the surrounding street network. We did a comprehensive set of parking counts along the street network, including counts directly along the block where the site is located, South 15th, South 16th, between 15th Avenue, 16th Avenue. Within that block area, there are 68 available parking spaces per our overnight observations, certainly more than enough to accommodate that peak parking demand during the overnight period for 16 total units. All in all, this is an area that has ample on-street parking availability, and the addition of this development is not something that's going to significantly impair or otherwise be a detriment to existing residents in the neighborhood as it relates to on-street parking availability. With that, I would conclude that this project from a traffic and parking perspective does not have an adverse impact on the surrounding roadway network.
Correct. No further questions of this witness, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, questions or comments for the traffic engineer?
Chair, quick question.
Commissioner James.
Mr. Korak, is this across, I think this is directly across from that police precinct, right? There's.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And I believe they also park on the street, correct?
Correct. Yeah, okay. You see a lot of that more so directly across on 16th Ave, but correct. They do park on the street, but also the park, West Side Park, is directly south of us as well.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Board, any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
There is one, Chair. Is this the end of the testimony, Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Donat?
We have one witness, our project planner remaining, Mr. Chair.
My fault. Let's get him sworn in.
Mr. Do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. State your name and affiliation for the record once again.
Matthew Flynn, Flynn. I'm the project planner.
That has been before this board before, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, you're accepted by the board. Please continue.
Mr. Flynn, you're familiar with all the plans and that were prepared in connection with this application, correct?
I am.
Please provide the planning justification for the variance relief sought this evening.
Sure. So before the board this evening is 3 tax lots, which in aggregate are 11,307 square feet. The underlying zone is the C2 zone. However, we are in a redevelopment plan, the West Ward redevelopment plan, specifically the WSR, the West Side Residential Zone. The reason I bring up the underlying zone, I'll get into that in just a moment. However, I will just say that in the underlying C2 zone, we would allow mixed use on 3,500 square foot lots. And similarly, 4-family dwellings are also required to be on 3,500 square foot lots. So I say that by way of background. I'll get more into that in just a moment. Obviously, proposed this evening is the subdivision of the existing 3 lots into 4 new lots. The lot area requirement is 10,000 square feet, which we meet currently. However, once we subdivide the property, we are looking at 4 proposed non-conforming lots in terms of lot area. We are also proposing lot width variance, rear setback variances, and as we heard, impervious front and rear yard variances, which are essentially all the result of the fact that we are looking at substantially undersized lots in the context of the zone. Also facade transparency, as well as parking and illumination at the property line. So just to jump right into the planning rationale for that relief, they're all C-level relief. Again, no D variances, no use variance, no density variance, or the like. In terms of the C relief, I think it's all justified by the C2 balancing test, where the benefits of the application as a whole outweigh any detriments. Again, we look to the municipal land use law, purpose A, promotion of the general welfare. I believe that the proposed 4-family dwellings promotes missing middle housing, which is basically the concept that not everybody can afford to live in a single family home. Not everybody wants to live in an apartment building. So 2, 3, 4-family dwellings like this meet that missing middle housing. Purpose G, variety of uses in appropriate locations. Based on the zone that we're in, the redevelopment plan that we're in, we would be permitted to have 1 larger building on the lot with 18 dwelling units. What we're proposing, I believe, is more appropriate for the area. We're proposing 2 or 4 smaller buildings with actually less dwelling units than what would be permitted. As I said, the density is conforming. So whereas we're allowed 18 units, we're actually coming before the board requesting 16 units, so 2 less than what we would be allowed. Likewise, purpose I, desirable visual environment. Like I said, we're proposing smaller buildings as opposed to 1 large building to house 18 units. We're proposing smaller buildings to house only 16 units in total. And finally, purpose M, efficient use of land. Again, I think taking everything I said, utilizing the space, I think appropriately and efficiently. The flip side to that would be the negative criteria, no substantial detriment to the public or to the zone. In this redevelopment plan that we're in, low-rise multifamily is permitted on 10,000 square foot lots, which is why I said that we could have 1 building with 18 dwelling units. Again, we're proposing 16 units. I would say that given the location, this is a better zoning alternative than having that 1 large building. I would say that 4 smaller buildings is more appropriate for the area. I would say that when we compare the redevelopment plan with the much newer underlying zoning ordinance, based on that much newer zoning ordinance, 4-family would be allowed on 3,500 square foot lots. We do have smaller lots than that, but again, not as big of a deviation from the 10,000 square feet that we're requesting relief from based on the redevelopment plan. Also, no parking is required in that underlying C2 zone, but again, we are requesting relief since the redevelopment plan does govern here. And finally, again, in terms of the negative criteria, we're proposing less dwelling units than what would be permitted here. So again, use, density, all comply here. We're really just talking about the form of the development. And I think given all the reasons that I've stated, these 4 smaller buildings are much more appropriate for the area than one large building. So with that, I think I'll wrap up. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. No further questions of this witness, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, any questions or comments for the planner?
Commissioner Baez has his hand raised.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes, Chair. My question, I believe, is to Mr. Roosevelt. Is there going to be any access in there for affordable housing voucher in those buildings?
Commissioner, this is going to be a market rate project. We have 4 separate projects on 4 distinct four unit projects on 4 distinct lots. So inclusionary zoning is not triggered.
That answer your question?
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, are there any questions or comments from the public?
Yes, we have one, Chair Richards.
Okay, let's get the person sworn in and let them know they'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give the board shall be truthful?
Yeah, she's just getting on. Ms. Relaford-Ofolo, if you can come off of mute.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give the board shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Janice Relaford-Ofolo, and I am a resident of the Pavilion Apartments in the city of Newark, New Jersey. So I am kind of concerned about these buildings being 4 apartments into each building. So what is the fabric of the neighborhood? Is the fabric of the neighborhood 4 families, 2 families, 3 families? And we talked about the parking. I'm very familiar with that area. And it was stated that there's like 68 available parking spaces available. But if the residents in that community is having an issue parking, what is it going to be like for the newcomers in the building? And my other concern is that these buildings are market rate. In that neighborhood, we're putting market rate buildings when we have a housing crisis. So why can't we have inclusionary zone applied to this? I just don't think that this is something that, while we understand that we need housing, but we're putting market rate buildings into that fabric of the neighborhood where they need to have proper affordable housing for our residents in the city of Newark, and especially in that neighborhood. So I am asking that the board kind of look at this from a realistic point of view. While, yeah, that lot has been empty for quite a bit of time, but I think that they can do better, especially for that particular area of our neighborhood. We can do better for our residents in that area. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and your comments. The one thing I would say about market rate there would definitely be less than market rate downtown. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, that you may be thinking that the market rate is going to be the same on 16th as it is downtown, not going to happen. The market rate up there is going to be much lower than downtown.
Mr. Chairman, might I address one point from the constituent, please?
Sure.
So this project, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your comments, Ms. Rutherford Follow, is in connection with the redevelopment agreement entered into with the city. So the design, the project scope has all been fully vetted with the city with respect to the project that's being presented. And as you mentioned a moment ago, market rate in this part of town will be very different than other parts of town. Thank you.
Chair, quick comment.
Commissioner James.
Council, what's the FMR for that specific property for that area?
If you can give me a moment, Mr. Commissioner. Mr. Chair, in consultation with the owner applicant, although the project does not trigger inclusionary zoning, he would be willing to, as a condition of approval, to make 2 units affordable, which would actually be 30% of the project, which exceeds the minimum 20% required by the inclusionary zoning. So we have heard
Excellent.
the issues with respect to affordability, and we want to be good corporate citizens.
Excellent. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ms. Rutherford, for bringing that to our attention.
That's real nice.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner, Madam Secretary, anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
No, that would be it.
Okay, in that case, I need a motion.
Motion.
Move. Second.
Second.
Move by Commissioner Baez, second by Commissioner Purdy. With the caveat of 2 apartments being affordable.
I agree.
All right.
I'm agree with that, agent.
Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Commissioner Purdy,
Yes, with the 2 units.
Commissioner Baez,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes, with the 2 units.
Commissioner De Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott Roundtree,
Yes, the 2 units.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Co-Chair Witcher,
Yes, and thank you to our community member for just raising it.
Chair Richardson.
Yes, and I concur. So move. Application's been approved. Good luck.
Chair, if we could take a small break before we move on to the last item. Mr. Barry has lost internet, so he just needs a moment to get back on.
Okay, so we'll just pause for, what do you need? 5 minutes?
We can do 5 minutes.
Okay, time check.
7:37. So 7:42.
7:42, we'll be back. We'll reconvene at 7:42. 7:42, not 7:45.
John, we're coming back at 7:42.
Okay, thank you for that accommodation. I don't know what happened.
Looking good, Mr. John. Looking different today. What did you do?
I'm in a well-lit conference room that apparently has internet problem. Either that, I got a haircut too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, look different.
Okay. Chair Richardson is 7:42, 7:43.
I am here. Is everybody back?
Yes, John is here.
Thank you, Chair.
Did you get Mr. Barrett?
I am back. Thank you.
You should have never left. All right, let's move on to the orders. This is all yours, my friend.
That's why you needed me to come back.
That's right. You're right.
Good evening, all. John Barry, still under oath this evening, planner for the board. What we have is before you is the sixth amendment to the river redevelopment plan. I'll share my screen briefly to give us some context. Can everybody see the map okay? So the plan is really dealing with three separate properties or groups of properties, the amendment is. First of all, we have the addition of this lot, block 175, lot 80, which is between Jefferson and Congress Street, adjacent to a much larger lot 1 in block 175. This property was listed in the original redevelopment plan that goes back to 2012, 2013, but it was never shown on the land use map. So part of what we're doing now is adding it into the land use map to clarify the use, because these two properties are in common ownership, and the properties being put into the mixed use 2 district. Also for these two properties, which would be limited normally under the plan to 12 stories and 144 feet in height, the amendment is increasing that maximum height to 30 stories, provided that a portion of the site is dedicated for public open space, and also requiring that there be active street front uses along Congress, Jefferson, and Market Streets, so that there are commercial and other active uses provided along those 3 streets, and that public parking will be allowed to be a permitted use, and that any development within these 2 parcels, the block 175, lot 1, and lot 80, will include a minimum of 150 parking spaces that will be accessible to the public. The second portion of the plan amendment is to actually roll back a change that was made in the first amendment. Block 170, lots 120 and 40, these 3 parcels right here, were part of the mixed use 2 district in the original redevelopment plan. The first amendment that was adopted 6 or 7 years ago changed them into the open space district. As a result of some litigation and a settlement agreement, the properties are being rolled back into the mixed use 2 district, provided that a similar height limit as I discussed for block 175 They would be limited to 12 stories unless a portion of open space is provided on the properties, at which point 25 stories would be permitted. A walkway, an open space walkway dedication is already required as part of the plan along the riverfront. And this new amendment would require an additional 10% of that land be available beyond the walkway, be available for public open space. And then the last item is to change the zoning designation for 3 parcels, block 171, lot 11, and block 172, lots 1 and 3, from the open space to the mixed use 1 district in the plan. The city intends to acquire these parcels for public park use. Part of the reason for the change at this time is for valuation purposes under a negotiation or potential taking for public purposes, rather than get bogged down in litigation that would argue that the properties have been zoned into in utility. The goal at this time is to put them into mixed use 1 zone, which is consistent with what the zoning had been prior to the adoption of the redevelopment plan, so the city can pursue acquiring those properties at a fair market value. So those are the 3 changes that are being proposed. The goal or the plan is broadly consistent with the master plan that was adopted in 2022. We've got the close proximity to Penn Station as a justification for increasing potential development density and height of nearby parcels. The open space contributions and set-asides that are called for in the amendment certainly further the goals of the River Redevelopment Plan in providing a contiguous riverfront park along the south side of the Passaic River here, and providing additional open space in a densely developed part of the city. And then we were also encouraging mixed-use development and providing active street front uses along some of the major corridors in the city, which is certainly consistent with the master plan. So with that, I will give it back to the board, answer any questions that you may have. The board's charge is an advisory role this evening. Ultimately, this will return to the city council for final action, but the board is in an advisory position to make any recommendations it may like to, as well as a determination about master plan consistency.
Thank you, Mr. Barry, for that presentation. Commissioners, any questions or comments for Mr. Barry?
Yeah.
Commissioner James.
Mr. Barry, could you bring back the screen again, please? I had a question regarding
Certainly.
So this is, for one, this is a courtesy review, essentially, correct?
So it's under the municipal land use law and local redevelopment and housing law. It's an advisory review. The board can make recommendations to the city council, but it's ultimately the city council's action to take.
Right, I totally understand. So just to clarify, I believe, and just correct me if I'm wrong, was it I know you mentioned something in respects to changing the open space to a mixed use designation. Is that accurate? Mike, was that
correct? So that's the 3 parcels here shown in purple with a red outline. I can zoom in a little bit here. Jersey Street and Market Street. These are actually properties that are currently owned by PSE&G. Block 171, lot 11, block 172, lots 1 and 3. Yes, changing those from the open space district to the mixed use district, which was consistent with what the zoning for those parcels was prior to the redevelopment plan coming online, 10 plus years ago.
So explain to me exactly what does the open, space designation mean? So does that mean that you can't currently develop those particular parcels? Like, is that specifically only for green space, open space, or?
Yeah, so within the plan, the open space designations capture either existing parks or the area that was proposed for the future riverfront park. And so there's no development potential allowed. So that's what I mentioned as far as the zoning the parcels into inutility. In effect, that's what's happened by putting them in the open space district. The city has been relayed to me, has intentions of acquiring these parcels at fair market value, but as part of that transaction negotiation, there has to be some developable market value for those parcels. And that's why they're essentially being reverted back to what their zoning standards were before the plan came into being.
I got you. Is this adjacent to the county's proposed riverfront park, like they were going to extend this? So you're saying PSG currently owns these parcels and not the county?
Correct. These three parcels are currently owned by PSG.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks for the clarity. Wait, and last question: are there any environmental issues there, or I'm assuming there's no fate?
That is outside of the scope of this. I'm not sure. Any property that's been owned by PSG for a period of time. I'm sure some investigations need to be done or have been done, but that's for another venue.
Got it. And to your knowledge, the county doesn't expect to continue to expand the riverfront park at this juncture.
I don't know about the county's plans specifically.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner James. Commissioner, any other questions or comments?
Commissioner Baez has his hand raised.
Commissioner Baez.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, according to the ideas that they're trying to do in there, I'm 100% agree that should be changed to misuse. I don't know if they have to go to a councilman or we can do that on our own, but I'm agreed to be misuse.
Thank you, Commissioner. Board, any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
Yes, Chair. We have one.
Okay. Let's get that person sworn in and they'll have 3 minutes to speak.
I'm sorry, we have more than one.
Okay.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give the board shall be truthful?
Are they in yet, Madam
There,
Secretary?
and he just hasn't. Mr. Goldstein, can you come off of mute and turn your camera on, please?
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Sure. John Goldstein, 171 Van Buren Street, Newark.
Okay, you have 3 minutes to speak, sir.
Thanks. Generally, obviously this is only, the board can only provide recommendations, but I'm going to strongly suggest some recommendations that I think you should make. This is spot zoning. The neighborhood has met once with a developer who's proposing to develop this land, and it appears to me that these changes are meant to facilitate this new proposed development. The developer said that they would be meeting with a series of public meetings. That hasn't happened. It seems that changing the redevelopment plan also should require some significant public engagement. That hasn't happened. In fact, this is, as far as I know, the only chance for any public input. So I think that's one recommendation that should be made, is that the city should have more public engagement before approving this change. Second, the issues around the riverfront park. Mr. Barry says he doesn't know about the county's plans around riverfront park. Clearly, there is a plan to complete riverfront park. These parcels are critical to completing riverfront park. And changing the designation from open space to mixed use is just wrong. I understand Mr. Barry's point about it's going to facilitate, that creating some utility, and then there'll be some value and the city can buy it. I mean, PSE&G, there needs to be a serious discussion with PSE&G about this is critical land. It should be public land. And I am not confident on this plan to convert it to mixed use as a supposedly a way that's going to make it easier for it to become open space when it's already open space. And the same is true of the other parcels along the riverfront. Finally, the height changes from 30 to 30 stories and 25 stories will severely impact this crucial part of the iron bound. It's density that is incompatible with the present or any future infrastructure in the neighborhood. There's no way to ever increase the street capacity to allow for the additional traffic that would be generated by such significant density. In other places, when a particular development asks for spot zoning changes, which I think these are, they're made in exchange for important community necessities. And in this case, in Newark, every big development, every small development, as the board properly did with the previous item tonight, should be looking at the crisis of affordable housing. And although I'm assuming that these huge buildings are going to be subject to inclusionary zoning.
That's your time, Mr. Goldstein. Sorry.
Well, okay. Add some more inclusionary zoning.
Understood. Thank you so much for your comments. Madam Secretary, are there any other persons wishing to speak?
Yes, we have a couple more, Chair.
Okay.
Miss Chloe, if you can come up and mute and turn your camera on, please. We don't hear you.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be true?
One second, Dan. We don't hear her.
Can't hear her. So go to the next person.
Okay.
Oh wait, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Thank you. Do you
Let's get
solemnly
us sworn in. Yeah.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
Yes.
Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Chloe Desir and the address is 317 Elm Street.
You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello. So I am here today to just address some concerns about this proposed amendment. Starting off with the consideration that this proposed amendment that we have here seems like it's very particular to the developer that is proposing this today. And on top of that, I'm also, and let me know if you can't hear me, I'm sorry for the background noise, but I also wanted to address how throughout this, we don't have any considerations of what's going on. And in terms of the Riverfront Park, like none of those questions have really been answered. And I feel like as a part of being a proposed amendment, we should have all of those factors included in this. And then on top of that, I also want to mention the aspects that we want to really consider first with community engagement, as was told earlier as well. With knowing that this Riverfront Park is going to be developed and it's going to be finished, and it also has an issue with community engagement as well. We should really be sitting back and seeing how intentional development really looks like having more community involvement, as opposed to concerns about opposition that would happen with this, because it's not being inclusive at all. I also want to mention that when we talk about having a whole new high rise that's going to be such an eyesore in comparison to all of the lower levels that we have here and changing the dynamic of the community, we should be able to see that having a 30-story along the river, a 30-story high rise potentially being built there is not the best idea, especially if we don't know.
I think we lost you there at the end, but thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Thank you for coming on and voicing your concern. Madam Secretary?
Yes, we have another.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Janice Follow, the city of Newark, New Jersey, Pavilion Apartments. So I'm a little bit concerned. We had a community meeting with the actual developers and owners, and we were told that what we were saying would be considered. And I don't like to use this word, so please do not take it personally for anyone who is, but this is like backdoor dealing. When you had a room full of community people stating what they wanted and how they wanted this to work, and when we were promised, it wasn't told, we were promised that there would be other community meetings before we get to this level. I think that that is a concern. I think the residents in that area deserve to have a voice. We know that development is going to come. That's not the problem. The problem is that that area already has issues with air quality and etc. So they're dealing with a lot in the Ironbound section or the East Ward. But when we are told that we would be considered, our suggestions would be considered, and we'll come back to the drawing board. That didn't happen. And I am not happy with that because I hold those people in high esteem and accountable. But now I see that my residents, my colleagues, my friends who live in that ward, they've been going crazy since they realized that this was going to take place. So I think that there should be more consideration to amend something that really is not going to fit what the community is asking. And I know we don't do development in accordance to what the community is asking, but as Mr. Goldstein said, we should, maybe put the brakes on this and let's have more conversation about it. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming on again, voicing your opinion, your concerns. Madam Secretary.
We have another joining us now.
Okay.
There we go.
Here we go. Good evening. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Arnold Cohen. My address is 272 Walnut Street in the city of Newark. I think the board needs to reject this proposal. Something of this magnitude, as was stated before, needs to have a full community meeting to evaluate and to get input into all the major changes that are being talked about. We do not need another 30-story building. Is out of sync with the development that we have in Ironbound. And if we're even talking about that, we need more of a community benefits agreement than 150 parking spaces. We need discussion about greater affordability at the site. We need to look at what other community benefits are going to be given as a result of this increase in density from 12 stories to 30 stories. You have a organization that's been there in the neighborhood of 55 years, Ironbound Community Corporation, that can help in those discussions. I am puzzled as to how by changing something from open space to mixed use is going to make it easier for the city to take that property for the riverfront. We've been working I myself have been involved in the development of that riverfront for over 30 years. It's a major asset to the city of Newark, and we need that as an open space area, not as a mixed use area. We need to have much more discussion before this proposal's allowed to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam
Mr.
Secretary.
Cohen, I'm sorry, Chair Richardson, excuse me. Mr. Cohen, can you please spell your last name for the record?
Sure, Cohen.
Thank you. Chair, we do have another.
Okay.
True.
Yeah. Good evening.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Once again, please state your name and your address.
Yes. Drew Curtis, 142 Union Street, Newark. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I agree with what the other community members have stated tonight. This is a huge project for our city. So like one of the largest sites that's available for development that's being affected, as well as our riverfront too. When the initial riverfront redevelopment plan was developed a decade or so ago, there was real good community engagement, like meaningful community engagement, where residents had a chance to weigh in and say what they want to see, to learn more about the city's plans. Hasn't happened. That's not happening right now, and it's disturbing to me. We care about our city, and so we want to say what's happening too. There was the one meeting with the new owner of the Iberia site way back in early November, but there hasn't been any follow-up too. Like others have said, we really want you as a central planning board to make your recommendations back to the council to slow down this process. Let's just stop it entirely, and let's commit to real meaningful community engagement that has stakeholders at the table. The residents, small business owners, the developers who are interested in the site, the city, of course, and the county too, who with their parks plans. I know there's been tons of plans about putting a boathouse that St. Benedict's High School could use too, and also would make it up for the public too. But if those plans are changing, we deserve to know, and we should be part of the conversation. We need our residents, us as residents, need to have a say in the community benefits for any development happening in this area too. So please urge you to make your recommendations to stop this project and meaningfully engage the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Madam Secretary.
We have one joining.
Okay.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Hazel Applewhite, CEO for Ironbound Community Corporation, 317 Elm Street, Newark, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. Just kind of, echoing some of the concerns that those that came before me voiced. ICC, Ironbound Community Corporation, has been deeply involved in the redevelopment plan going back to 2013, the original redevelopment plan of the riverfront. 10 years later, the plan is being changed, and like folks have voiced, it's without community input, right? We had one community meeting in November, and then it's been silent so far. So I am urging the board to put a hold on this, to consider, more community engagement with the developers, the city, community members, and also local non-for-profits at the table. That's what a democracy is made up of, with all folks who are invested into this community actually sitting at the table. The community benefits agreement, I'm also urging you to any redevelopment plan that you're reconsidering, to note a community benefits agreement that allows the community to have a say. It should not be the developer doing the community benefits agreement. The community knows what they need as a community benefit, and they should have a say in it. So more meetings around that, right? And definitely just noting a community benefits agreement within any, amendment to the redevelopment plan. And this is the crest. Also, I want you to consider a 30-story building going up, right? And in an area that's considered a heat island. Look at the temperatures that we're having now. And the temperatures are just going to get, worse, right? Due to global warming. You also have the fact that you have open space. Open space is a representation where you can have trees, right? That helps mitigate some of these climate issues. But if you're changing the open space to now, putting up a 30-story building in there possibly, right? You're only causing more environmental issues that we're already faced with into the Ironbound. So I urge you to also consider the environmental issues that this is posing to the residents. Thank you, and I hope you'll do the right thing.
Well, thank you. Madam Secretary?
We have another joining.
Okay.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear?
One second, Dean, he hasn't joined completely. Mr. Thomas, if you can come off of mute and turn your camera on, please.
I can't. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was having problems with my camera. But my audio does work. If that's okay.
Right. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Thomas. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Leonard Thomas. I live at 22 Same Street, actually quite close to the site that we're talking about here. As a community member, I took part in some of the original plans that they had to talk about, the planning meetings to talk about what they're going to do in this area. And the people that I was with and my neighbors were really happy when we talked about green space, because there is such a lack of green space here. And this would be just a wonderful idea. And we were all set for that. We talked about what kind and what shape the green space would take and how it would really be so beneficial to our community. And now it seems like a matter of a bait and switch. We agreed upon the green space, and all of a sudden we're talking about a monstrosity building of 30 stories that's going to cause all sorts of problems with things like our sewage and our water, and cause that heat island. This last week, I think should get a warning about how hot it actually gets. And this building would just add to that. The community, the minded community at the meeting showed they were more interested in green space, not in monster buildings. They said no to the monster buildings. We don't need those. We need something that's going to cool the area down. This is going to stress our infrastructure, which we've had a problem with. We've already had a problem with areas not too far from that flood because there's nothing to absorb that water. They even talked at one time about building a wall there by the river to prevent flooding there. And then they changed it because it would not help. And this building would be like building a wall on that edge of the river space. You really need to look at the plans that were there before. They were much better for the community. This is going to be to the detriment of the community. It's not going to add to our long-term health and wellness. It will take away from that. You need to have more meetings with the community to discuss this and make the plans with them, not without them behind closed doors. Here's a surprise, because this seems to be what happened. We talked about what we want, what we need, what we want to see in our neighborhood, and then all of a sudden It's completely changed. We got something else that is not going to be to our benefit. So I hope that you'll reconsider this application and that you will do something that will be more for the benefit of the community, not to have a monster building here for 30 stories and more that will take away from the community, take away from the quality of life of people like myself that live in this neighborhood. Thank you.
No, thank you. Madam Secretary?
Chair, we have another joining us.
Okay.
Hello.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give this board should be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you. Please state your name and affiliation and address.
Hi, my name is Lillian Ribeiro. I'm an Ironbound lifelong resident. My address is 19 Allier Street in Newark, New Jersey. So I'm here today to advocate, just as many others have before me, for the board to slow down this process. As a lifelong Newarker, I've been very involved throughout my entire life, especially in the last 20 years with ICC, the Ironbound Community Corporation, as well as others. I work as not only in the community, but I teach at Rutgers NJIT theater program. I work in the shelters of Newark with the homeless. There's a lot of issues right now. There's a housing crisis. I also work in the schools with youth. So I'm very involved. And I encourage you all to slow down this process. As many have already stated, there was a process where many community members gathered. We advocated for what was important to us, primarily green space. So I would reject a proposal for now until there's more community meetings, gathering people again to discuss this prime location, to see what really matters to the community here. Building a 30-story high-rise in an area where it's like prime location, not really considering the community members' viewpoint. It's outside of the zoning. It's not considering the issues of parking and traffic. It literally takes me over a half an hour, sometimes an hour, to get to Rutgers NJIT. This is an issue commuting from the Ironbound. The schools are, of course, overflowing with students. There's like a ton of homeless people, not even room in the homeless shelters for people because they cannot afford housing. And although this will address housing, I'm sure many of the spaces will not be affordable. 30 stories is definitely outside our zoning in that area. It should actually probably be like 14, 15 stories, but you should all involve the community to really look at that. Then we're talking about the floods, the pollution, the pedestrian issues, people not really riding their bikes. There's not bike lanes. There's not anything addressing like people on their scooters and not the transportation. The Red Bull Stadium, Prudential Stadium, all of this additional traffic, and where this area would just bring in more traffic. Honestly, just like someone mentioned, this happening tonight was kind of just like, oh, here it is, surprise. There was literally one meeting about this, and this is very important to our community members. I know it is for me, especially, and those who have already spoken. So please, I encourage you to reject this proposal. We really need to look at that riverfront property. It is prime location. It should be used as it was originally intended, for the people who want a riverfront and to be out there. And really considering...
That's your time, sorry.
Okay, thank you. And really considering all, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary?
Chair Richardson, we have another joining us.
Sure.
Next witness, Do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give this board shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Christian Rodriguez, 94.5 Martin Street, Newark, New Jersey. Hey, Chairman Richardson, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for having us here and everybody here from the board. Just a few things to consider. It seems as though, can y'all hear me? Plane is going by.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, cool. It seems as though we're changing zones from 12-story to 33 stories for just one developer. How many times will we do this for a developer? He said this, John said this is done because we're by Penn Station, but do we really want to look like New York City, Brooklyn? We've seen that fabric of that community change over time due to gentrification. We need more community involvement in this process as promised. Secondly, we go through the master plan and redevelopment plan to ensure things like this doesn't happen, that they just don't sneak in behind our backs to change zoning, for this to happen. Why are we making amendments to zoning that the community work hard to ensure, again, that the fabric of the community stays the way it is, right? Thirdly, also, Ironbound has little green open space. Why remove the little bit of open space that we do have just for developers? We need to leave some things for us, for community folks. Newark, especially Ironbound, has the highest heat index. Right now, the mayor and organizations like ICC is working on planting more trees because this is a big environmental issue. We need better community benefits that benefit the community and not those who are not from the community. My recommendation for the board is for you all to recommend to put a pause on this. Let's go back to meeting with community. Let's create better community agreements that doesn't gentrify us. Let's leave open space open, right? And not turn it into a mixed use space because we don't need any more of that. And let's stop trying to gentrify Newark. Let's stay Newark strong for the people of Newark. So that's all I have to say. I hope you all take those into consideration. We're overburdened. We're tired. Yes, we do need new places to stay that's affordable for us. And we also need to make sure that we keep our green space open. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for your time. Y'all take care and have a blessed night.
You have a great evening.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary.
Chair Richardson, I believe this is the last one, Mr. Felsen.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Do you
Hello.
Hold on. You solemnly swear the testimony about to give this board shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address.
My name is Jacob Felsen. I live at 777 McCarter Highway. Other speakers have talked about fabric of the community. I walk in the area every couple days. What I see is the walk between Penn Station and the heart of the Ironbound is right now a valley of darkness. It's vacant lots, derelict buildings, parking lots. Somebody proposes to actually infuse it with some energy and, of course, the community uproar. I don't understand. I feel like there's all kinds of contradictions. People are saying there's a housing crisis, but they're opposing more housing. And we know research has shown time and again, the places that are affordable in the country are the places that allow building, like Austin, Texas. All these people are moving to Texas, but the prices aren't going up. Why? Because there's a lot of housing. Why? Because we don't delay developers in building. Whereas in Northern New Jersey, this is what we do, and then we end up with this housing crisis that we have now. It's self-imposed, and it's due to, and the complaint, we need more community input. I think that's a ruse. That's just basically to stall these things out so that to make the developer go away. There's no better place to put a 30-story building than within 3 blocks of Penn Station, which is, as we know, one of the busiest train stations and hubs of transportation. I think this is one of these cases where as much of the NIMBYs will be against it, if it gets built, the people who move into the neighborhood afterwards, and many of the residents who aren't here at this meeting tonight, will wonder why anyone opposed it. Because what is right now a desert and really a valley of darkness, is pretty unpleasant to walk through that area, will become filled with energy, hundreds of new residents. And not being environmental doesn't make any sense. To have a 30-story building next to a train station, that's all about environmental, so people aren't driving. The people complaining about commute, get out of your car and walk. It's easy. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments and thank you for commenting, voicing your concerns and opinions. Madam Secretary.
We have a couple more, Chair Richardson.
All right. How many do you have in the queue?
I have two more after Ms. Garner.
All right, and those will be the last two.
Okay. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Beck, if you could swear in, you're on mute.
Once again, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give this board should be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you. All I need is your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Tanisha Garner, 55 Oxford Street, Newark, New Jersey, 07105.
Thank you.
Go ahead, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted John to know that we are an environmental justice community that was deemed by the DEP and the EPA. The reason why, because we have an incinerator. We also have Covanta, which is an incinerator. We also have PVSC, which is the sewer plant that does not only take from the city of Newark, it also takes from other municipalities. So just imagine the impact that a 30-story building with the other developments that's going on throughout the city of Newark is going to be impacted within our city and also other within our city because we have a combined sewer system. That's number one. Number two, by us being an environmental justice community, we always have bad smells. Now, you want to, like I said, you want to propose 30 stories. What is that impact are going to do with the quality of life of the new residents that's coming in and also the existing residents that's facing it? Number three, when you look at the riverfront plan, how you just said that you wanted to take it from an open space to be developed into housing, you have to realize that the Passaic River is contaminated with dioxins that was from Agent Orange of Vietnam War. So you remember what happened with Hurricane Sandy when a lot of the water rushed into the community. What happens when you have your property there if it's another type of hurricane? And we just had, several months ago, we just had an earthquake. So what are we doing to have measures in to make sure that our residents are protected? And number four, when we look at the traffic, it will be an increase, especially when you look at the traffic study that you will, I suppose that you already did a traffic study, but just imagine when you add on what you already have and the other existing buildings that they already proposed and what they are building is going to add on to it, right? So, and it's crazy because we remember when we fought against the MX3 and they wanted to propose a 20-story building and we got it down to 12. So now you see what it looks like at 12. Imagine it if it was 20. And we also live in the proximity of the airport. So all the airports, all the airplanes that fly low and the noise and the nuisance that it creates, that's also a burden on our quality of life. So we really need to restudy this and we need to just postpone it for now so we can have these conversations. And there are other groups that's here that could be able to facilitate. And we definitely need to make a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Madam Secretary.
Yes, we are. Okay, Miss Cortado joining us.
Let's get sworn, Mr. Beck.
I'm right here.
Yvonne, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address.
My name is Patricia Cortado. I live at 94.5 Martin Street in Newark, New Jersey.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of our community regarding the proposed amendment allowing the construction of 30 stories building in our neighborhood. We are a community that values its unique character, cohesion, and the well-being of its residents. I mean, this proposed development, while accommodating to commuters, it compromises current residents and the new ones that are coming through. Homeowners, renters, houseless folks too. This proposed development promises luxurious accommodations for a select few and raises several critical concerns that we must address. First, the environmental impact that a lot of the community members have spoken about in this call, that with the impact of such high-rise structures cannot be overstated. The creation of heat islands is really, really hot here outside of Newark. It's not. So increased flooding risk due to overwhelmed sewage systems, the potential for wind tunnels. These are not just theoretical issues. We live in it. They are real threats to our daily lives. The increased density will exacerbate these problems, affecting the quality of our lives and those who are coming through. Parking and traffic are already significant issues, and we all know this because a lot of people have already spoken about it. The addition of these high rises will lead to an unsustainable increase of car traffic, making our streets more congested and dangerous. The influx of new residents will strain our existing infrastructure from parking spaces to sewage systems, leading to a cascade of problems that we're all ill-equipped to handle. Gentrification is another pressing concern. It seems as though we're changing zoning from 12-story to 33 stories. If we do this now, how many more times will we do this again? For this development caters to the wealthy, those who are prioritizing profit over people. They're likely to look down upon our established community, fostering an environment division rather than inclusion. We also foresee challenges with increased foot traffic, bike, scooter usage, which will further strain our already overcrowded streets. Moreover, the community engagement has been sorely lacking. While it's one thing to be given a platform to voice our concerns, it's quite another to see those concerns genuinely considered and acted upon. The current process feels performative, as if our voices are merely being tolerated rather than truly heard. This approach undermines the democratic process and erodes trust between the community and the council. We're not against any development or progress, but it must be sustainable, inclusive, and reflective of the community's needs and desires. So we urge you to listen to us, not just in word, but in deed. Implement the real community engagement strategies, conduct thorough environmental and social impact assessments, and ensure that any development plan prioritizes the well-being of the residents, not just the wealthy few or the newcomers. In conclusion, I ask you to reconsider this amendment and work with us to create a plan that enhances our neighborhood without compromising its character and livability. Can we continue to build a future that we can all be proud of?
Thank you so much for your comments. Madam Secretary.
We have our last one.
Hello.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this board shall be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes. Maria Lopez Nunez, 95 Nichols, Newark, New Jersey.
Continue.
You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. I wasn't going to speak today, but of course, Valley of Darkness comments made me get on. It's hard to hear our neighborhood being described that way, but I can see why people are upset tonight, because we did have a community meeting with a developer who said they would continue engaging with us. Instead, they've had other meetings, but it's just been with the business district. I think, as a planning board, you have a lot of power. And I'm a little worried that you might just go, well, the city asked us for a recommendation. It's just a recommendation. We give it to them. And then when we go to city council, they're going to tell us, well, the planning board gave us an affirmative recommendation to just move ahead. So, I'm asking you within your power to just ask city council to slow this process down for us to continue having more conversations, specifically when you're doing spot zoning. I see that there's like 3 different particular spots that you're dealing with together tonight as a bundle. I think you need more clarity on each of them because spot zoning is very bad practice in planning. I think it's bad when developers treat our planning board as a piggy bank, where every time they want something special, instead of going through the zoning board, that's a more onerous process that, has a higher threshold that they have to pass, they instead just decide, okay, well, you know what, we'll just change the rules. We'll change the rules for ourselves, and then we don't have to have the difficult conversations or go through the difficult proving of our project process. I don't think that's something the planning board should stand for, that they just change the rules so that they don't have to comply or do anything difficult. I see that that's very much what's being attempted tonight. I do agree with a lot of my fellow community members that said this feels like a backdoor deal, because you can imagine being at a meeting that's well attended. I mean, many municipalities would love for public participation in the way that we get it in Newark. It just shows that people care about their neighborhood. And again, I've heard no one say really like, we don't want any development, but we do want development to happen in a certain way. We haven't seen success in many highly developed cities. They're still highly gentrified and expensive. And that's not even what's at hand today. It's about the good faith and process. That if we have a good process where we actually have space for community members to come out and voice their opinion, that leads, to a more cohesive community, a better democratic process. And so I hope that the planning board makes those recommendations to the city council, because I'm not sure that city council would do that themselves if they've already allowed this to go this far. It should have never gone this far. And I hope that the planning board, as our method of last resort here, ask the hard questions of the city for both their project and the spot zoning that will become the Iberia project, of why it needs to happen in this way, and why it has to be spot zoning as opposed to something that we engage in the full-blown public process.
That's your time.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Right. And Madam Secretary, that was the last speaker, right?
Chair, we have other people asking to speak, but it's...
I mean, we're not gonna go on all night. I mean, if you could poll them, are they pro or con? I mean, if they're just gonna make the same similar comments as previous, of all of the other speakers have, except for one, then I mean, we got the gist of it. I think we had enough people speak and voice their concerns, and unless they have an alternate, unless they're pro.
Okay, so yeah, that this person is against. Mr. or Mrs. Joseph, if you can type a response to let us know if you're pro or against.
I mean, we've heard everything.
Oh, there's someone who's pro that wants to speak.
So that's different, right?
Okay. Ms. Reyes, if you could say if you're pro or against.
Here's what I'll do. We'll hear. What time? Give me a time check.
8:39 p.m.
I don't want to go till 9 o'clock and just hear basically the same thing over and over. I mean, we understand where ICC is and the community folks who are against the project and the reasons why. We were clear, right? No one else gonna make it any clearer on that front. So
Chair, I believe Mr. Joseph is the only pro.
All right, so let's hear from Mr. Joseph, and he'll make the second out of however many who have spoken. So we'll hear from Mr. Joseph, And we'll make him the last person, but we're clear about where ICC stands and where the Ironbound community stands.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, good
Yeah, we
evening.
can hear you, but we can't
Ms.
see.
Levinsky, do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give shall be truthful?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Levinsky Joseph. My address is 79 Adams Street, Newark. And I'm speaking in favor of the spot zoning as someone who has lived in the Ironbound for 20 years. It's a person of color. And I recognize the changes that have been happening in the neighborhood, the concerns that people have about gentrification and housing. The thing, though, is that people talk about wanting to have housing, about wanting to solve the housing crisis. That's not going to happen unless we actually build housing. I think that while well-intentioned, a lot of the comments before are ignoring the fact that public and affordable housing is not being built by the city of Newark or the state of New Jersey or the federal government. The only way that we're going to get affordable housing is by private development having the 20% set aside, which has been established in the city ordinance. And having a high density development next to Penn Station is exactly where it needs to go. And I know that people are nostalgic for Iberia, but it was a business that was past its prime, owned by a guy who cheated on his taxes and is now facing a federal prison sentence. For as much as a lot of us have had good memories there, it's time to move on and provide a resource for the community in the form of housing. And we're not going to solve the housing supply issue unless we build housing. And that part of the neighborhood right by Penn Station is exactly where you need to build high density housing so that you get more residents, so that you get more taxpayers, so that you get more people patronizing the businesses all around the neighborhood. This is a city, and we need to act like this is a city. This is not Springfield. This is not Toms River. This is the city of Newark, and we need to develop it using the resources that we have, like Penn Station, like Ferry Street, like the proximity to transportation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Appreciate it. And that was definitely our last speaker, Madam Secretary.
Yes, we just have 2 questions from the commissioners.
Okay, let's get commit board.
Commissioner Baez, Commissioner James, whoever wants to talk first.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Carissa. Chair, I believe in the, first of all, I'd like to thank each one of those residents to come and bring us a great speech to the board. I believe in that, and I believe in, I heard this young lady says that we have enough misuse in Newark, but that's a no-no. We do need more misuse in there. I don't know if it's going to be in that spot, but I just like to add my recommendation is to the city of Newark to bring a more meeting and let the resident know a little bit more about the project. But my recommendation, Chair, is to bring this back to our councilman. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner James, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Barry and then a comment. Mr. Barry, just to clarify, this redevelopment plan doesn't have a density requirement, correct?
Commissioner James, in terms of the number of units?
Correct.
Correct, it does not. The bulk of the development and the quantity of units are controlled by the height and other mass.
Okay, because I think that definitely needed to be made clear if it wasn't already to the public. I do recall the councilman of the East Ward having a community meeting, and I don't think he would be averse to having another one, just based on, my, I guess, involvement and, knowing how he is with various communities in his ward. But just to piggyback off of Commissioner Baez, I would definitely also recommend to the council that there be at least another meeting or 2 before the developers submit their site plan application before the planning board with the East Ward councilman and developers I think most of us on this board, especially those of us who've been in this board for quite some time, I've served on this board for about 18 years. And my main caveat is that this board is always stuck with, community issues that could have been abated prior to coming before our land use board, which restricts us to land use law, as a lot of people aren't necessarily familiar with. So with that being said, I think, and I can't speak for everyone on the board, but I would definitely recommend that the city council have at least 1 or 2 meetings with community residents and so forth. And they may not be able to hash all the issues, but I think something of this magnitude should definitely happen before the developers present their site plan application.
So Commissioner James, so are you proposing to send that language to city council?
Yes, because at the end of the day, as Mr. Barry, mentioned when we first got on, this is an advisory, and I think based on our experience in the past, a lot of times the city council piggybacks and, send issues that they could have abated prior to coming back before the site plan application takes place. Obviously, there's multiple, cracks of this for the community to be involved and to comment. But I definitely think that something of this magnitude should force the city council to have several meetings with the developers as well as other government officials before the site plan application comes before us.
Okay, all right, duly noted. Board, any other questions or comments? So Commissioner James,
Chair.
do you? Okay, co-chair with you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Commissioner James for his statement, and I also want to raise the point that this is an advisory statement. I think the timeline is important because we're speaking as if there haven't been conversations, but we know that there have been conversations, Newark 360 and so forth. So if there need to be additional conversations, I think that would be prudent on everyone's behalf.
Thank you, co-chair. So commissioners, any other questions or comments? So Commissioner James, would you like to make the motion?
Sure. Mr. Barry, I make the motion.
Hold on, Commissioner. Let him make the motion.
I put forth the motion to make the recommendation that the city council moves forward, contingent upon having multiple meetings with the community, as stated in comments earlier.
So that's the advice. So is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by co-chair Richard. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Commissioner Purdy, I don't see him.
Absent.
Commissioner Baez, I don't see him. Commissioner Timmons?
Yes.
Commissioner De Silva, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott Roundtree?
Yes.
Commissioner James?
Yes.
Commissioner Baez, I see you came back on.
Yes. Send it to the council and make some meeting with residents.
Okay, co-chair Richard?
Yes.
Chair Richardson?
Yes. With the same caveat as Commissioner James put on the table. All right, Mr. Barry. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Doty. We'll make sure that gets passed along.
All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you, brother Chairman Richardson. I just want to thank Commissioner James as well.
Absolutely. We have minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? Any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none. I need a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes of our last meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so moved. Mr. Beck, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. We are ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, so we have CPB 2121, extension 2241, an extension. And let's go to the back page. We have 2414 228 Broadway. That was Chick-fil-A, 2405, which is 100 Market Street, 24-19, which was 676-675 South Street. That we're gonna hold, that we're not gonna move that one. That was Marsha Moore. The next one was 2423, 48 Elm Street. Next one was CPB 242, 100 Market Street. Next one was 8 area in need of redevelopment, Benjamin Moore, Lister Avenue. And the next one was ordinance referral, 6th Amendment to the Newark Riverfront redevelopment plan. So I think that's all we got.
If I may, Dan, there was a there was an error on number 7. It's CPB 24-05 for 100 Market Street. That's the application number.
Right. Yeah, you had it twice. Yeah.
So let's add it again. So it's 24-05.
Yeah.
Sorry, 100 Market Street.
Correct. All right, and that's it. So thanks everyone for your patience. And the next meeting is July 22nd. Stay safe out there. COVID is still rampant. People still getting sick. Take care of yourselves. Have a good evening.
Have a good night, everyone.